Hello, everyone. You are not watching this live, but you might be watching the YouTube stream after we make it live when this bonus episode is released. So, welcome. Happy holidays. We are recording this on the 18th of December, but it will be released over the holidays while we are taking a little time off. So, hope you enjoy this. All right.
Yes, if you're having good holiday season and relaxing,
Let's
eating.
just without any further chit chat, let us jump into the recording in three, two.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 224 of the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I'm Seth.
And I'm Carly.
And normally we would be here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more, as well as what's going on in our own lives. And I would ask Carly how she's been. But things are a little different this week. We are pre-recording this episode right before the week before Christmas. We are going to be releasing this as a bonus episode over the holidays, so we can have a little break with our families. We hope you are enjoying your break with your families. But we're going to mix things up a little and do something a little different. Instead of just talking about the latest news, we are going back and looking over the top theme park news stories from our website over the past year.
Yes, I love a good countdown.
Yes, this is from January 1st through December, I believe, 16th, when we compiled this list of 2023. And this is not my picks or Carly's picks. This is not
No.
the stories we liked the most or we thought were the most important. This is chosen by you, our readers, by what you clicked on. This is purely a popularity contest of what theme park stories got the most attention on our website. And I will say, as a side note, if we had not filtered this down to theme park stories and we included all stories on our website, I would mostly be talking about McDonald's Happy Meal toys because for
Crazy.
whatever reason, every time we write about a McDonald's Happy Meal toy, that goes crazy.
You know what? Like I love to find out the numbers, It's always the stories that I think are going to hit really don't.
Yeah.
And then just really bizarre stories that take off. And it's just so fascinating. But yes, the McDonald's thing was definitely a surprise.
So we are going to jump right into it. We are going to count down the top 10 theme park news stories of the year from attractionsmagazine.com. And we are going to jump into the news in that year-long queue right now. All right, starting out at number 10 is a story that is very timely because we just recently had the opening of one of the last components of Epcot's reconstruction, but it's still not completely done. And back in June 13th of 2023, Theron White, our colleague who has moved on to his own website, happy holidays, Theron, he posted a great article pointing out that it had been 2,155 days since the announcement of Epcot's makeover, and things were still not done then. And honestly, they are mostly done now, but there is still the festival center, which has still not been completed. So this countdown could still be continuing. We can't even do
Yes.
it
I
anymore. We
mean,
can't even.
we're in a better place because there's less construction walls.
Yes.
And it's just like Epcot is my favorite park at Walt Disney World, and it just was so painful to deal with these construction walls. So a lot of them are down. There's still construction walls up, so still an active construction zone, but we're getting there.
So it's hard to imagine now, but the announcement that Epcot would be rebuilt was made in 2017.
Whew.
Like, children that were born when this announcement was made are now like in,
In high school.
elementary school. Almost. I mean, this was pre-pandemic, like, I love how Theron put it in this article. Like, since the announcement was made, we have gone through a worldwide pandemic, 2 Disney CEO changes, 16 Marvel film releases, and 3 different Walt Disney World fireworks shows. And actually, you can add another couple fireworks shows to that by now. It's amazing. So World Celebration is officially open, even though it's not 100% complete. But this rebuild of the center of Epcot, I think, took longer than anyone could have possibly imagined it would.
It's pretty baffling, having now experienced it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it in the evening, but I do not know what took so long.
Now, granted, there was a lot. It wasn't just, redoing the gardens in the middle of the park and ripping out the fountain and replacing it with a planter. There was also the Creations Shop and the Connections Cafe that was built. We've got the new Journey of Water inspired by Moana walkthrough. We've got that new Walt Disney at Dreamers Point statue, which the bench around him looks nothing like the concept art that we had, but okay, fine. But as we talked about last week, or last week when we were recording this, about a month ago when you're listening to this, I really like, especially at night, the new Central Plaza. I think it's a very welcoming place to just hang out. It puts the park in theme park, as we say in this article here. Lots of trees, lots of greenery. It's very relaxing, and lots of places where you can sit and eat without needing to stand over a trash can.
Oh, yes, and charging ports. I mean, I really do enjoy. Again, we've talked about this. It's a place where you can actually hang out, which for Epcot it needs that, because you're picking up a wine, you're picking up a beer, but like you just want to sit.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully that will be improved even more when, as we said, the the final component falls into place. They basically tore down Innoventions or Communicore in order to just sort of rebuild part of Communicore, except more square. But there will be a place to meet with Mickey and friends, as well as an air-conditioned environment to have a festival center, and that will be very welcome. Still some construction walls to come down, sort of near the water treatment plant and around on that west side. But it's definitely come a long way. We just never thought it would take quite this long to get there. And we do have to kind of mention the elephant in the room, which is that several major components of the Epcot rebuild, which were promised and advertised, even had a preview attraction, preview center for them, looks like will not happen now, like the new film in China, the Mary Poppins attraction, and the reimagination of Spaceship Earth. All those are indefinitely on the back burner. So.
Very bummer, especially about Mary Poppins. Happy about Spaceship Earth because it's classic and I don't want to change it, but yes.
So that is our number 10 story. And next up, Epic Universe. This is going to be a recurring theme. We're going to return to Epic Universe more than once today, but back in March, we were already seeing huge progress on 5 roller coasters at Universal's Epic Universe. And thanks to Bayou Reconstruct, who I'm sorry I did not give full credit to when discussing that last article, but he is an absolute genius of aerial photography. He seems to be hanging from a helicopter every other day, and has brought us more spy satellite information about the construction of new things at Disney and Universal and other parks around Florida. So we're very grateful for his contributions. And one of them is this article diving into the construction of the various roller coasters coming to Epic Universe, the big new park Universal is opening in 2025.
Yes, like between him and Alicia, we pretty much know every single detail
Yep.
about this park before it's even officially announced. We
Uh,
know they've announced Epic Universe, but really no real details. But we kind of figured it out.
So, in case you are not totally up to date on the roller coasters we're discussing, working our way around the park, Epic Universe is going to have a Super Nintendo area with a Donkey Kong mine cart roller coaster, which we'll be talking about a little bit more later on. It's got a Universal Classic Monsters with a spinning launched Wolfman roller coaster. We have a um, roller coaster in the How to Train Your Dragon area.
Mhm.
And we've got two roller coasters in one. In the hub is going to have a space themed pair of dueling roller coasters. And this is, back in March, this was very early construction. We are now seeing all these coasters topped out, track completed, theming going on, test carts on the tracks. It is incredible how far along this whole project is, and it is still like a year and a half away from officially opening.
I honestly can't believe it. Just looking at these pictures, I mean, this was just this year, and what we
Mhm.
see now, like basically completed rides,
Yep.
or foundation wise, it's unbelievable how they are like rocking and rolling,
Yep.
hardcore.
No pun intended. These roller coasters are absolutely rocking and rolling already. We'll be coming back to them a little bit more, but that was our number 9 story. And number 8, as I mentioned, these are the most popular stories of the year, not necessarily the most popular stories written this year. Here is an oldie but goodie written back in 2021, but folks are still clicking on it
Love
to
it.
learn tips to boost your score on the Web Slingers Spider-Man adventure all the way out in Disney California Adventure.
I am so bad at this attraction. I think I need to refresh myself with this article because my arms just flail everywhere. I mean, I have a good time doing it, but I'm not the best web slinger.
Yes. So if you haven't been out to Adventures Campus at the Disneyland Resort, this is Disney's take on a 3D Spider-Man ride that is not Universal's 3D Spider-Man ride. Instead, this is an interactive shooting gallery with webs very similar to Toy Story Mania, except instead of having a physical object that you use to launch, you are just flinging your hands. And it's using
It's a
motion
workout.
capture.
Yeah.
It is a workout. You definitely can end up with a little wrist fatigue.
Little tennis
Um,
elbow.
it is a fun, re-rideable attraction to try to get the high score. Personally, I don't feel like it's quite the e-ticket that Universal Spider-Man ride is. But if you're a
Agreed.
fan of things like Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story Mania, this is another game to add to your repertoire. Um, so the hints that we include here, the first is to know your spider bots. In order to score in this game, you're trying to hit spider bots with webs that you sling at them. Um, they all have different colors, and different colors mean different scores. So you kind of want to don't get distracted by the red and blue ones, because those are only worth 300 points. You want to look for the ones that are gold, because those get you 6,000 points apiece. But the other thing you want to look for is Easter eggs and hidden objects and triggers, like levers or buttons, because those can trigger bonus scores. And you want to cooperate with the other folks in your car to work towards getting those.
Yes, I am not good at this ride. So it's all going in one ear and out the other. It's like
What,
it's taking me years to master Men in Black. So I think I'm far away from mastering web slingers.
Well, if you want a cheat code, they sell it in the form of web tech. These are devices that you can buy at the gift shop. It's a little wrist bracelet that you slap on, and when the ride detects that you're wearing one of these, you get upgrades. You get more efficient blasters, Makes it a lot easier to hit those targets. Here is one little tip. If you want to invest in one of these, which, they run 30, 40 bucks and up, put it on, wear it while you're loading into the ride, and wait until the system detects that you're wearing it. But then once it detects it, then you can take it off. They're kind of heavy and clumsy. And it'll definitely fatigue your wrist wearing it.
Can't
Once
imagine.
it's activated, you don't actually need to keep wearing it throughout the ride. So that's a little secret. And the other secret is that teamwork does count. You don't just get individual scores; you also get a group score for the car. So don't everyone go for the same target. Kind of break it up. It helps if the people on the outside sort of shoot towards the corners, and the people sit in the middle kind of focus in the center, so you're not crossing over each other's arms.
But that can't always go as planned because you will be seeing people you don't know. If
That
you're
is true. That is true. Sometimes
I'm
it's
usually
just
by myself, so
every person for themselves. My other big tip for web slingers is you do not need to make the Spider-Man symbol with your hands. Karate chop works just as well. And
but it's fun though.
yeah, it is fun, but like this, it really kind of, carpal tunnel sets in.
Yeah.
You can just karate chop away. You'll be fine. All right. Next on the list, I promised you more Epic Universe news, and we had back on July 23rd a deep look into construction of Super Nintendo World, and folks are very excited. Even though this is going to be the third Super Nintendo World, we've already got one in Japan and one in Hollywood. The one in Orlando looks to be the biggest, most complete one yet, and folks are very excited about progress on it.
I'm very excited. I love the one in Hollywood, but definitely want more,
Mhm.
and I think we're gonna get that in Orlando.
Yeah. So this construction update from a few months ago, obviously a lot of progress has been made since, but it shows progress on the three big rides in the land. That's the Mario Kart Koopa's Challenge dark ride, or actually the Orlando version I think is going to be called Bowser's Challenge.
Mhm.
Um, and the Yoshi's Adventure dark ride and the Donkey Kong Mine Cart Coaster.
Yes, I'm
Uh,
really hyped. Universal Studios Japan has released some good videos of the Donkey Coaster because they're getting it first,
mhm.
and I cannot wait. It'll be
Yes,
great.
we will definitely be talking more about that. But these are really fun photos to look at because you can see the shapes of all the Mushroom Kingdom buildings, but they're still just kind of yellow insulation and drywall. And now a lot of this has been covered up with theming. It's really made huge progress. So it's kind of cool to see the infrastructure of it now that a lot of it has been filled in. And again, thanks to Bayou Reconstruct for these great construction progress photos.
Oh yeah. I have a quick question. So you know how when theme parks are complete, there's like an FAA regulation where you can't fly your personal drones. What point does that switch over?
Gee,
Like,
that is an excellent question. Yeah, I am not an expert in FAA drone regulations.
regulations.
I know a lot of this stuff. Bio goes up in helicopters and has an amazingly steady hand with a very long
Wow.
lens. And I know he's always careful to stay out of restricted zones. Hover right outside of the boundary and get in there with the zoom. So
Wild.
yes, he's definitely
Wow.
definitely a great asset to all of us. And I've been up in one of those helicopters once with the open door, and I gotta say, take some strong nerves to do that
Mhm.
on a regular
I don't
basis.
know if I could do it.
Yep. Well, if you want to kind of see these shots virtually without having to hang out a helicopter yourself, we have some great updates on our website from Bio and from other contributors at youtube.com. You can find some great videos of flyovers. All right, next, Here is a question you might be asking yourself. If you own a Tesla or another electric vehicle, where can I charge my EV at Walt Disney World? Well, back in January, John Self, our contributor, wrote an article explaining exactly where you can go all across Walt Disney World Resort to charge your EV. I do not personally own an EV, but if you do, and you are signed up for the ChargePoint charging service, which is a nationwide network, the world's largest, for charging stations, you can you find ChargePoint locations at the Walt Disney World theme parks and charge up your car while you park.
Very cool.
Have you ever taken an EV to a Disney park?
I have not, but we did test drive one because we are a little curious for our next vehicle.
Ah,
But I always look at them in the parks because all the theme parks around the country are adding these. Like Cedar Fair
mhm.
Parks added a bunch this summer to some of their parks. So it's definitely, a lot of people are changing over to an EV, and you need to have these ports because a lot of people are driving to the parks from home, or long road trips.
Yeah, I think it would be great, especially for tourists, to kind of spread the gospel of EV by having more rental EVs. I got to say, I've not done this in Walt Disney World. I tried doing it on my last trip out at Disneyland. One of the cars that I could pick when I was out there at no extra charge was an EV. And I got in it. I was all ready to take it until I realized that nowhere in the car were there any instructions on how to charge the car,
Yes.
what it needed. I feel like as a consumer, if I'm renting a car in a city that I'm not super familiar with, like if you're going to rent me an EV, then you need to give me EVs for dummies. And I need a cheat sheet of knowing couldn't even figure out how to open the EV port or what type of EV charger I needed to go to recharge it. And even knowing that Disneyland had charging stations at their parking lot, I wound up not taking it because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to get it recharged and get stranded somewhere.
It's funny you say that. I actually had an EV over the weekend at Silver Dollar City.
Okay.
I didn't notice charging ports. I wouldn't have known how to charge it even if they did
No, yeah.
have it.
I looked in the glove compartment, everything. There was no, I need need simple
Right.
instructions to tell me how to do this.
Absolutely. And and one time we rented one in LA, and it was not even fully charged when we got the vehicle. So we
Uh,
brought it back. And then another time I was actually with a friend who had an electric vehicle rental at Disneyland, and they didn't put the cord in it that you need to hook up to the
uh,
charging point.
yeah.
So my cases with renting an EV have not been the greatest, but I think
Yeah.
that's just we need to learn about it. I just don't know how to do it.
Which is a shame because I mean, years ago, the first time I drove a Prius, a hybrid, was through a rental, and it really, opened my eyes to how nice they were back in the day. And wish I could have the same experience with an EV and become, an EV convert. But yeah, definitely need to cut down on the idiot factor for people like me who can't figure out where do I plug this thing in.
I know.
Yeah. Well, if you already are an EV convert, you're driving your personal vehicle or you're renting one. In addition to parking at all of the theme parks, all four of the Disney parks, ranging from 4 to 5 spaces depending on the park. You can also find them at some of the official Walt Disney World Resort hotels, including Coronado Springs, Riviera, and Wilderness Lodge. In addition, if you're staying at the campsites at Fort Wilderness, they offer standard wall outlets and level 2 NEMA 14 to 50 outlets that can be used if you have the proper cords and plugs. So look into that ahead of time if that's your case.
Very cool.
And then some other resorts that you can find with charging stations are the Swan Reserve, the Hyatt Regency Grand Cypress, and the Wyndham Grand Orlando at Bonnet Creek. And if you're if you have a Tesla, you can find Tesla chargers in the valet parking areas at the Waldorf Astoria, Shades of Green, and the Four Seasons. So they've also got some charging options at Disney Springs. And we also mentioned the car locator app inside the My Disney Experience mobile app that can also help you out with your car issues.
Very handy after a
Yeah.
long day.
Yeah, so this is definitely this is an article. If you have an EV and you are driving to Disney World, this is one you are going to want to read. Okay. Next on our list, back in January 18th, beginning of the year, Samantha Davis Friedman wrote a great guide to how power-up bands work in Super Nintendo World. And I got to say, after visiting Super Nintendo World in Hollywood, I love the rides, I love the food, but I think the thing I spent the most time with was the power-up bands and punching blocks.
Amen. The key challenges there, which is what you use the band for, are without a doubt my favorite
Yep.
thing to do in Super Nintendo World. And the best part, it's very easy. So
Yes.
you really just put it on, and if you want to, hook it up to your app, that's great. But it's very easy to use.
Yeah. So the way these work is these are available right now in Hollywood and in Japan, and they will be coming to Orlando when Epic Universe opens. And it looks like it's kind of like a slap bracelet with a big hockey puck stuck onto it. It's a little bulkier than a Magic Band Plus, but it also doesn't need any batteries or charging because it's just like an RFID tag inside. And you use these to trigger activities around the land. Just like in a Super Mario video game, there are question mark blocks and power up blocks all over the land that you can punch. And it ties to the app. You can register as part of a team on the app and keeps track of your progress collecting coins. You can do activities including riding the rides, but also it reacts to these key challenges, as you mentioned. And I think one of the neatest things about it is that you have to do a certain number of these key challenges before it'll let you into the Bowser Jr. challenge, which is, it's kind of unusual to have like an activity in a theme park that like you have to do something else before you qualify to be
I love
allowed
that,
into
though.
the
Yeah,
secret
it
area.
makes it so special.
Yeah. Great for creating FOMO. And some of those key challenges are pretty challenging, like the one that you have to time the punch just right to knock the turtle on his back, the Koopa, over. I had to cycle through that a couple times to get the timing just right. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely really fun. I'm excited to see that in Orlando and how it's going to
yes.
expand upon it with the more space.
So this guide has everything you need to know about where to buy the bands, how to download the app, what you can do with it, and it's all based around the Hollywood version. But a lot of this is just as applicable when it comes here to Orlando. So read it and get excited for 2025. Here's something in Orlando that was a little less exciting, but it definitely got some traction on our website. Back in late August, we reported that Universal Orlando quietly took a lot of the songs away from Ride Rockit. This is the music-themed roller coaster that's been around since 2009. And it always let you select both a genre and then one of a number of different songs in each genre to listen to during your ride. They didn't do a very good job of updating those song lists over the years. Finally, they updated them by just getting rid of most of them.
Yeah, this is pretty surprising. I don't know why they did that, but
well, I think this was kind of like a simplicity and efficiency thing. Maybe guests were confused that they had to press a button and then press a button again to first pick a genre and then pick a song. I didn't think it was that complicated to figure out.
right.
But now it's just you pick a genre and that picks your song because there's only one song per genre. Your choices now are their classic rock / metal song is "Welcome to the Black Parade" by My Chemical Romance. The rap hop song is Humble by Kendrick Lamar. Club Electronica is Sandstorm by Darude. Pop disco is Waterloo by ABBA, and country is Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain. And we can have arguments over whether any of these songs actually fit well into the genre. I would argue that Welcome to the Black Parade is not only neither classic rock nor metal.
I would
I
agree
would,
that it's pop.
yeah, emo pop, I would say.
Yeah.
But also they picked the worst part of that song to match up with a roller coaster. It's just all the slow
The
stuff
slow
at the
part,
beginning,
yeah.
and the song doesn't even kick in until you hit the brake run. The songs they originally had on the set list were all chosen and like timed to
Mhm.
kind of fit well with the roller coaster, and I don't feel like any of the. I think they just sort of asked Spotify to pick them 5 random
Yeah.
songs. I do not consider this an improvement at Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, personally.
No.
But thankfully, you don't need to listen to any of these songs because the hidden songs are still there. And honestly, you want to listen to the Muppets. Everyone wants to listen to the Muppets, right?
Always.
Yeah. I believe it's 903 or 904. One is Moving Right Along, and the other is The Rainbow Connection. But to get to those hidden songs, you just hold down the Rip Ride Rocket logo on the screen when you sit down for a 10 count, and then let go, and it'll pop up a little hidden menu. You can type in a 3-digit number, and there's dozens and dozens of songs to pick from.
It's the only acceptable one.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple others. The Who, Won't Get Fooled Again. That's
Oh,
another
that's
good
good.
one.
Yeah.
And back when the Blue Man Group was there, I used to like playing the Blue Man Group song. That was on there too. All right, moving right along. I promised that we would be talking more about Donkey Kong, and we are back around. This is the number 3 article
Wow.
on our website for the year back in April 17th. We were shocked that Donkey Kong Coaster was so far along all the way back in April that they were already beginning theming then. And it really shows how, Universal got stung with the opening of the studios back in the early 90s when they opened a theme park that was really not ready for prime time. And they opened the gates, but a lot of the rides were just not ready to work. This time, it looks like they want all this stuff to be done, ready, months, if not like almost a full year before the official summer 2025 completion date. And we can see that right here in the Donkey Kong ride, where way back in April, they were already far enough along to be adding theming throughout the ride. And it's a lot further along now.
It is wild. I have to keep reminding myself that it's
Mhm.
not opening up in 2024.
24.
I'm like,
Honestly,
it's
it
not
looks
opening
like
next year.
if they said this was a summer 2024 project, I would believe them. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
same.
and I would be shocked if we do not see large scale soft openings of this by spring of 2025, and even early spring. Like, not like maybe guests, but employees and invited people. Like, I think they're going to want to start testing this stuff so that by the time summer of 2025 opens,
It's ready to
everything
go.
is
Mhm.
field tested, battle tested, all worked out all the kinks.
Well, we
I think that's what
volunteer
they
as
want.
tribute. We'll be some of
Yes,
the
I
testers.
volunteer. I volunteer. Yeah, and we talk about this a little bit in the article, why they would begin theming this far in advance. Part of it is testing, wanting to see if we put this stuff up in Florida weather, what is this theming going to look like a year from now? Is this stuff going to hold up long term? And also, some of these things are, when you're building roller coasters, sometimes you can't get to a spot. Once you reach construction past a certain point, it's really hard to get those high lifts, those scaffoldings in. So you want to get some things themed out before you can't reach them anymore. But it also just shows how rapid the progress on this whole project has been. We were all afraid when the pandemic hit and they put the brakes on this project and was put on hold, You know, it was supposed to originally open by the end of 2023, but they really just pulled out all the stops to try to get this back on track.
Yeah, and it's looking good. I am hyped. It's so wild to think we're gonna have an entire new theme park in Orlando. I'm just pumped.
Yep, absolutely. And we have for our second to last piece of news. This one is a little more controversial. At Universal, in both Hollywood and Orlando, earlier this year, we have an article from July talking about the new disability pass that they rolled out at Universal Parks. And I got to tell you, I read more complaints and arguments about this new system than anything else in the last few months. Uh,
Yeah.
so just to recap, Universal, Disney, all the major theme parks have always, over the years, had their own system for dealing with folks who are disabled, who cannot wait in a regular queue. For many years, there was, the scam that people would rent a wheelchair, even if they didn't necessarily need a wheelchair, because it would get them to skip the lines. And theme parks years ago got wise to this and started building their queues to be fully wheelchair compliant,
Right.
and also developing systems where folks who, for whatever reason, could not wait in wait in a regular line, would have a return system where they could, get a return time. At Disney, this is called DAS. Disney's revamped it over the years. I go frequently to the parks with someone who uses DAS, and I got to say, it works great there.
Especially
It,
since they went mobile, I feel like it was just a game changer for the DAS system.
since Disney's has been digitized, I found that especially once you get approved for it the first time, if you're an annual pass holder, the renewals have become much less stressful. There's a certain amount of stress especially if you're someone who has an invisible disability, and is not, used to having to explain to someone what your needs and your limitations are. It can be very stressful.
Well, and that's
And,
what this is for.
mhm,
It's not for mobility issues. It's for
yeah,
everything else, like IBS and
yes,
anxiety, and that's really complicated to
yeah,
go up to someone that's definitely not trained or
mhm,
qualified as a medical provider, to explain this to them. So I'm
yeah.
happy with what their system is now.
Yeah. And I know for all the parks, a lot of this focus has been on folks with autism and other spectrum disorders that make it difficult for them to, tolerate a wait in a conventional line. And Disney went through a lawsuit years ago over this issue that kind of resulted in the creation of DAS. Universal, they went a different route. They ended up teaming up with a group called IBCCES, which stands for the International Board of Credentialing and Continuing Education Standards. And this is kind of an umbrella organization that's worked with a bunch of different theme parks, including Legoland,
Yep.
Six Flags, Sesame Place, to kind of create standards for accommodating people with disabilities, particularly autism, and creating like a standardized application. So they have something called an IAC, an individual accessibility card, that you can apply for online with this third party. So you're not giving your personal medical information to Universal themselves. You're discussing with a third party, and then they're passing the information on to Universal. And in theory, this should be a good thing because should allow qualified, people who
Right.
specialize in this to be able to assess your needs. And then Universal is, kind of ensuring themselves, like, insulating themselves against accusations of bias or whatever, because they're just kind of taking the information from this neutral third party mediator. Right. Great.
Right.
Here's the issue that I have, or that I have repeatedly heard people have. Talking to IBCCES goes great. Filling out the form, providing the information. You do have to provide some doctor's information or an individualized education plan or something like that. But going to them is great. then when they pass that information over to Universal, that is where the ball seems to be dropped. And I keep hearing over and over again about people who get approved by IBCCES and are told, okay, here's your case number, go to Universal, or either Universal does not contact them back with a case number, or they get the case number and then they show up at the theme park and they find an hour-long wait at guest services to get the card stamped or whatever. The whole point is that they can't wait in a line. And in order
Right.
to get this through this application, you have to wait in a line. And Universal's guest services, I mean, if you look on their public Facebook group for Universal, on a daily basis, there are people complaining, why isn't there at least a separate line or an appointment? Or can I do this electronically? Why do I have to stand in a line when the whole point is that I'm proving that I can't stand in a line? And Universal Guest Services is 100% aware that this is a problem and has done, as far as I can tell, absolutely nothing to fix it. It's
Right.
it's one of these cases, and I'm going to jump up on my little soapbox right now. This is one of these issues that we see repeatedly in various forms throughout various theme parks that would be solved the very next day if the CEO or COO or some other high-end executive was forced on a regular basis to attend the theme parks as a regular guest with their families, waiting in the lines, paying for the tickets, standing in line for guest services. If you know, if the head of Universal Parks and Resorts had to stand in line for guest services in order to get this so that he could or she could get their family this necessary pass, I guarantee that line would be done in a completely different way the next day.
Right.
But they are okay with guests having a bad experience day after day after day and receiving the exact same complaint over and over again. They're okay with that because it happens every single day. So it kind of this is one of those things that is great in theory and terrible in execution, much like communism, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, if they followed through with the promise that they make to do this in the efficient manner that they promise they are doing it, people would love it. But all I see all day long is complaints.
Right. And it like you
and it's
said,
a shame.
when it gets passed off to them, because the company they're working with is the biggest in the game of
Yeah.
they do certified autism centers and whatnot.
Yes.
They're the company you want to work with.
I haven't heard any complaints about IBCCES.
Mhm.
It is one because they work with Six Flags, they work with Legoland. Everyone I know who has dealt with them at Legoland has not had a problem, but is consistently Universal. You know, they say, "Oh, do this 72 hours before your park visit, and we'll contact you back." I worked with a family with a daughter with autism that definitely needed this, and the runaround. I sat on the phone for an hour. They sat on the phone for an hour. They still had to wait in a very long line, and things were still messed up. And it's not just one occasional; it's messed up day after day after day for many people.
Right.
And
That is all you see in
they
the
don't seem
pass holder groups on Facebook.
they don't, and they just there doesn't seem any motivation for them to fix it. So it's a shame because they got good publicity. They made sure that they went out and got good publicity when they announced this, and they've not been held to account for failing to live up to their promises. It's a shame. All right, well, that is the second most popular article of the year. And before we jump into our most popular article of the year, we are going to hear a quick word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and Mousefan Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
It's time for the main attraction!
All right. And for this year's main attraction, the most clicked on article on our website in theme park news of 2023, way back in January,
Oh,
our reporter, Theron White, got super lucky and just happened to be riding Splash Mountain before that ride closed, one log behind a boatload full of Imagineers.
what luck! What luck!
And those Imagineers apparently happen to be doing audio testing, previewing the soundtrack for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is the new attraction that is replacing Splash Mountain in 2024. And this is one of those. This is one of those cases where this shows why it is important to have reporters on the ground in the theme parks on a regular basis. You cannot plan on this. You cannot count on this. Is one of those
Right.
moments of kismet, and obviously it paid off because this was the most clicked on article that we had all year long. Folks obviously are very excited and interested in the conversion of Splash Mountain into Tiana's. And unfortunately, Theron did not get to overhear what they were listening to on their audio devices. Um, but it was a lot of fun speculating about what might be coming to this new attraction.
Right. And just how cool in general to be in that moment, like
Right?
right behind them. I mean, he got so lucky and just what a cool story. And I'm definitely excited for this, just bring some fresh life to Magic Kingdom here at Disney World and Disneyland. So this is really cool.
All right. Well, if you don't feel too creepy about like snooping on these poor folks when they're just trying to work, we have a breakdown of all of the executives that we identified in these photos, including Charita Carter, who is executive creator producer for Relevancy Activations, and she is a very notable figure. She's been at D23 and in a lot of announcements, kind of the face of a lot of the announcements that they've done recently. We also spotted some creative directors, folks from Imagineering. Um, and so this is a fun little article, a great moment that Theron was able to catch, and we were lucky enough to be able to bring to you. We've got lots more articles on our website and videos on our YouTube channel about the transformation of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is going to debut in both Florida and Disneyland by the end of 2024.
Very cool.
Well, I gotta say, I had a great year getting to discuss all these stories and more with you, and I am so excited to come back in the new year and talk more about theme parks and what's going on in our own lives.
Yes, I am ready. It was a fun year of news. I really enjoyed doing this because I got a little emotional because I forgot Super Nintendo World opened in Hollywood this year. There
Yes,
was so
yes.
much that happened this
It's
year.
so yeah, I'm working on an end of the year article for Orlando Weekly right now and trying to squeeze in everything. I mean, for kind of bookended by Super Nintendo, I got to see at the beginning of the year, and then going to Hong Kong for Frozen towards the end of the year. It's just it's been a packed year, and that's even without I guess Tron was probably the biggest thing that we opened here in Orlando, and Pipeline. But it wasn't like a year of really huge new lands or anything here in Orlando. So can't wait for stuff coming in 2024 and especially 2025. A lot of exciting
Oh,
stuff.
yes, I am excited.
Well, before we go, one last time, we want to thank our sponsors, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. We want to remind everyone, please leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to us, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And be sure to follow us at attractionsmagazine.com and search Attractions Magazine on whatever social media platform you are using. Carly, where can folks find you in the new
Yes.
year?
I'm on Instagram at Adventures by Carly, and I'm on X at Carly Caramata.
And you can find me at Skaborski on all socials and at theunofficialguides.com, home to my new 2024 guidebooks. And until next year,
Oh,
we wish you all that you folks stay safe. Try something new. Most of all, have fun. I wish you a wonderful end to 2023, a
yes.
wonderful start to 2024, and we will see you all again very soon.
Yes.
Take
Happy
care.
New Year.
Bye.
Bye.